Hello. God, there's not gonna be a good angle. Man, I got some wrinkles going on, man. Getting old quick. 24, looking 40. That's a lie. So I don't know if you can tell, my eyes look fine, but earlier I was in like 3-4 minutes ago, I was crying a bit. This really isn't gonna make a whole lot of sense in terms of the emotional aspect, but the surroundings you're seeing as I'm driving, you obviously can't recognize, most likely. I'm driving, this is where my second grandma used to live, Grandma Dorothy, still alive. That's where I used to go when I was like 4 until I was about 8 or 9. That's where my mom would live with her mother. And I live in Indiana. I'm not going to give you the address, obviously, but this is kind of near Indianapolis. That's all I'm going to say. I'm just saying this mostly for like self-reflection. But where my grandma Dorothy used to live is right near where my cousin Josh used to live. Now, if you go to the channel History and Reviews, type in on YouTube History and Reviews, and then type the word channel in after that. You can find his channel. I forget what the profile picture looks like. It might just be a really tiny, the words History and Reviews is like the circular profile picture. But we have that channel, or had that channel. I was a part of that channel on YouTube, obviously. Hi. And then we had one that's still up on YouTube called the Omega Agents HD. I've spelled it out many times, but it's TheOmega Agents HD, the Omega Agents HD. So my cousin and I grew up together. We spent our childhood together. He spent his sort of, when my memory popped up, because you don't remember when you were like 1 or 2 generally. You might have a few little tiny memories of a few seconds, but generally you don't, my memory came into knowing him when I was around 4 or 5 years old. Now, to pass the time, to have fun, God, this is crazy. I'm driving down the road right now that's going the winding roads to my aunt's house. Just bringing so many memories back. That's why I was crying earlier. Him and I grew up together. When I was about 6 and he was about 12, we started filming a series called Agents. That's partly why that channel is called the Omega Agents HD. We had 2 channels. There are 2 series that we filmed primarily. They're little cameras, little childhood film series. Little series we do. It's the Omega Men, or the Omega Man. I'll call it the Omega series, and then we had the Agents series, so that you can kind of understand the name of the channel now, the Omega Agents HD. It's a combination of both of those the series names. Turning left past this elementary school. This is, my God, nostalgic. That doesn't even accurately describe it. So we grew up filming those series. They were goofy little series we'd film with like cheap cameras and then put it on YouTube. Back when YouTube was in its early form, like 2006 YouTube. This little camera was like a silver Canon camera or something. I don't know if it was Canon. It was a little digital camera, and the max storage on the SD card or the memory, the SD card at the time was like 10 megabytes or something crazy, and we filmed in either 144p or 240p. Now we're going down these winding roads that lead to my aunt's house, and this is, I'm not gonna cry on camera, but it really, God, my cousin and I would walk these roads all the time. And he's not dead, by the way. I know I'm talking as if things are over, but they are in a different way that I'll explain that in a minute. We would film on this road. We would film our series on this road. We would film all of our series. We'd drive on these roads all the time. Because my grandma, well, she's not alive anymore, but my aunt and my other aunt, they live fairly close to each other. So I know I'm going back and forth, but there's my aunt's house. My God. My God, that is crazy to see again. My cousin and I had a falling out. Let me go back and explain. I know this video is chopping all this. I'm going to upload it just like I got it. It's a very natural, organic vlog. I don't like cutting them up too much. I like just talking and having an odd kind of flow to my videos, or a natural flow, I should say. So my aunt and then Josh's mother, my other aunt, my aunt and my grandma would live one. My aunt's still alive. She still lives in the same house that my grandma lived in when she was alive. She passed, but they live about 8-9 minutes away from here. And then my aunt, Josh's mother, who I just showed you the house. So they live fairly close. They're like an 8-minute drive from each other. They live near Indianapolis, and that's like in the song. You're not going to find them. But again, I'm saying this more just kind of so you can kind of get a more home-ish feel, like you can feel a little closer, more connected, I guess. God, this is crazy seeing all this again. My cousin and I had a falling out. I'm not going to go into the schematics of it. I'm not going to go into super minute details, but basically, I'm just going to say it. It's his fault. We were filming our series. Our series, the Omega series and the Agent series, we'd film that. Man, we'd film it. You know, we stopped filming in 2019 when we had our falling out, so that's 13 years. You know, we'd film the series, and as we'd grow older, we'd do reboots of the series. You'd see us get older. Like, oh, the new series, the Omega Men, and then the Omega Man, the Omega Saga. We'd have all these different sub-series in the main series. And then Agents HD, Agents TV series, Agents Returns, where I played a man named Officer Spencer. I played Officer Spencer II. I played Officer Spencer III. Probably I could have been Officer Spencer IV or V if we made another reboot. But we had a falling out in 2019. I cut my hair. I wanted to get my hair cut. It was relatively long. I cut my hair. He noticed it was shorter. He wanted to film Agents that day, and he blew up on me over a haircut. Kind of bizarre, I know. He basically didn't like the fact that I cut my hair. You have to have continuity in a series. We were filming this particularly hard scene to film, where if the weather wasn't right or if it rained too much, the little stream that we were filming by would flood the rock garden we were standing on. So it would take us months to film that scene. Well, obviously my hair grows, and you know, you have to have things have to match up. Your hair has to be the same length. Well, I didn't know we wanted to film that day. We never made any money off of these series. It wasn't anything serious. We didn't have a big production crew. It was a side project on YouTube for fun. He noticed one day as I went up to my aunt's and grandma's house that my hair was shorter. So he blew up on me like a nut job. Called me every name in the book. Every name in the book. And that's why I said it's his fault. I think you have to be a bit of a whack job to blow up on somebody over there cutting their hair. Again, I want to say that, you know, again, I want to say it again, that we weren't making any money. We weren't, we didn't have a production crew. It wasn't a huge thing. They were video series that we did purely for fun. That's all. It was just for fun. So we could film it whenever we wanted. So that's the story behind us falling out. He doesn't want to speak to me anymore. It's been 4 years, basically. It'll be 4 years this, like, September or November, between those 3 months, September to November. I've reached out to him multiple times. I've wanted to talk to him. I've tried talking to him. And the closest that we've gotten, it's kind of disgusting, was when my grandma passed. I said, you know, you're a brave man for what you did. Helping her as we, you know, the hospital and everyone tried to make her comfortably pass. And he saw some stuff. She died in kind of, I'm not going to go into too many details, but she passed kind of unpleasantly, and he witnessed that. And I said, you're a brave man, you know, you did a lot. And that's the closest that we've gotten. And he didn't say a word to me. He just nodded his head. He looked miserable. And he's still not talking to me. But that's not what this video is about. I'm sorry I went on a bit of a tangent, but this is a very organic video. If it gets 10 views, 1 view, it doesn't bother me. It's kind of I guess it's kind of an outlet for me to talk about these things, but also, like, I guess, you're probably not going to be watching the background because it's going by too fast, but I'm passing Southwest Way Park. very huge 8-mile trail system in a park. It's very lovely. God, memories, man. But I'm driving through all these roads. I'm about to visit my aunt, the one that used to live with my grandma when she was still alive. I'm about to go talk to her. But I'm driving through all these roads, and when I was driving back near my grandma Dorothy's house that I mentioned a while ago, and I went and drove by that house. I looked at the house. When I was driving on those familiar roads that I would be on with Josh in the back of his mother's car, staring out the window as a little kid, 6 years old to, 20 when we had our falling out. It's really, and I haven't been on those roads for, maybe it's been a year and a half, because my friend Brennan and I, we went to the playground at the elementary school that I passed earlier just for fun. But I wasn't really taking it in. It was kind of cool to see those roads that I used to be on with my cousin, but I was more focused on Brennan and I going to that park, the little playground, to just goof off and have some fun, that I didn't really take it in. But I was really taking it in this time as I was driving down those roads, and I was flooded with that feeling of being a kid again. I felt like I was back in time, riding with Josh and his mom, or sometimes just his mom, going down those roads, seeing those houses, seeing the trees that are still standing, seeing the gas station that they've now remodeled, seeing how the road winds, seeing the exact how the road traverses. All of it, my brain instantly picked back up. It's kind of an overwhelming feeling, but it was a lot of nostalgia, and it made me tear up, made me cry. I shed a few tears, because family is very, very important. And I've realized that now more than I have in the past, because when my grandma passed a few months ago, that really kind of changed a lot of things, and it made the family drift apart more. Our family was most intact when my grandpa was still alive. He kind of held the family together, just his presence kind of did. The fact that he was alive. And then when he passed, a lot of unnecessary anger, a lot of unnecessary fighting and drama took place. I know this video is kind of all over the place, but I just want to talk, and hopefully you guys are enjoying listening to this. But in 2014, when my grandpa passed, it really changed everything. They fought. Some of my family members fought over his property. He has a farm, a small little farm. I guess you could say farm. There's a barn there and some land. It's not really a farm. No animals. Just overgrown land and a little tiny shack of a barn. But in 2016, some of our family members started a fight over the property. Well, I want the barn. Oh, well, I want his property. Well, I want his house. Well, we deserve some of his, we all need to split up his, however much money he has left over. A lot of drama. And then when my grandma passed, that was kind of, nobody really felt it, or nobody really outwardly expressed it, but I felt that really was the final nail in the coffin in terms of everyone being apart, everyone us really starting to drift away. And yeah, I don't know, not really sad reflecting on it. I'm actually enjoying talking about this. It's kind of therapeutic, and it's also nice to give you guys an unedited sort of look into my life. But our family's doing great. Nobody's, saying all that stuff makes it seem like our family's miserable or whatever. No one's abusive. We don't have shitty family members. We're all good. It's just that, like I was saying earlier, family is very, very important. And I've realized that more so now when my grandma passed. I was sort of, kind of, maybe semi-ish close to my grandpa, but my grandma was basically the mom I never had, because I didn't really actually have a mother figure in my life. She was, I'm not going to talk about her, but my father, amazing. My mother, good God. So my grandmother took my mom's place, helped raise me, took care of us, and she's gone now. And I'm actually about to go up to her house, talk with my aunt some more. I still say my aunt, my grandma's house, even though my grandma's passed. I'm never going to stop referring to it as my aunt and grandma, because it was my grandma's house just as much as it is my aunt's. Yeah, I think it was more devastating for the family when my grandpa passed, in terms of everyone moving away or like falling apart, because it caused a lot of bitterness and drama. And that happens when someone passes, because it's such a monumental, horrid thing, generally. And everyone was kind of, by the time my grandma passed a few months ago, we still were kind of split up and separated for the most part. You know, my uncle, he's off in Florida working news down there when he used to live here in Indiana, and Josh and we don't talk anymore. I barely talk. I don't ever really talk to his mother. The only person I really talk to that's not extended family, but is an aunt extended family? I think it is. But you know, the only one that I talk to that's not immediate, like my dad or my sister, is my aunt. My Aunt Diana is her name. But I hold no malice against anyone I don't talk to. I've been trying to talk to my cousin Josh, like I said. The son of a bitch is stubborn. But life is too short. Hold on to your family members, and if you can see them, go see them. If you can talk to them, go talk to them. I've been making an effort to try and go see my aunt every weekend when I have time off, because, you know, Josh he's moved out of her house, and my grandma's passed. So those were the only two that were living with my aunt, and now she's by herself in an empty sort of shell of a place, you know, a house that held a lot of memories, a lot of fun times, barely any negativity, and it's just her there now. And I don't want her to feel alone. I don't want her to hurt. I don't want her to feel the loss of my grandma in a really potent way. And I think that being there and showing up and talking to her is maybe therapeutic for her. It was nice. 2 weeks ago when I went up and saw her, she just couldn't stop talking. And that's not a knock to her. That's, I think it's because she doesn't really have anyone up there anymore. You know, her and her mother would talk with my grandma. Her and her mother would talk all the time. They would argue sillily. Is that a word? They would argue, fake argue. They wouldn't, very rarely would they get into arguments. It was kind of that, you know, that typical, like, older mother and, you know, 60-ish-year-old daughter, and they would argue back and forth, but it was very playful and not, you know, no malice, no hatred or whatever. But this is a random kind of all over the place vlog video. It's called a video. I don't think it's a vlog. Leave a like. Let me know if you enjoyed it. And that's it.